Today I am going to show you how to crackle paint. We are going to do spot crackle, which is when you pick places that you want to put the crackle rather than putting the crackle on the entire piece. First we need to find a piece that we want to do the crackle to. Then we need to gather the materials that we're going to need, which is masking tape, a worn out sanding pad or sanding paper, a razor blade knife, a rag, a paintbrush, I'm using a 1-inch brush, a putty knife or a flat tip screwdriver, a small container or multiple, or you can use an empty paint bucket, your paint for the top coat, which needs to be a flat paint, and weathered crackle glaze. The piece that I have chosen has a finished coat on it. You can choose a piece that is raw and stain it, or paint it like I did on this example board, where gray was my base coat, yellow was my top, so that the gray shows through my cracks. Which this is also a good idea to do something like this for a practice piece first, to know how the glaze works. If you have a finished piece, you will need to lightly sand it to remove the shine. Sanding with the grain is always a good thing to remember, but you're going to want to be careful of burning through the stain. And you should have a small amount of fine dust built up when you're done. You're going to want to take your rag and dust it off. We want to make sure we get this out of all the corners. We want to make sure to remove all the dust. It should look something like this. Now on my piece, I have chosen to mask the center off. If you have anything that you don't want painted or crackled, you should cover it. I'm going to cut small strips of tape to lay on my edges. You want to make sure that you stay close and keep your tape down tight so that the paint does not seep through. Once your edges are done, you can cut a sheet of computer paper or something similar to fit, but make sure that all of your edges are taped down. It should look something like this. Now we are ready for our crackle glaze. Pour a small amount into your small container. Make sure to read the instructions. Every crackle may not be the same. Dip your brush into the glaze. Make sure not to get too much. The thicker the glaze, the larger the cracks. Apply the glaze in an even coat. An uneven coat will cause variation in your crackle, which you do not want. Brush the glaze on wherever you feel you would like to see the crackle. Make sure if you see any runs or bubbles to smooth them out. When you're done, pour the excess glaze back into the container. Then wash your brush immediately after, or it will begin to harden. Allow your glaze to dry 1 to 4 hours at around a 70-degree temperature. The sooner you apply your top coat, the bigger the cracks will be. If you wait longer than 4 hours, you will have to reapply the glaze. Next we are going to apply our top coat. Shake your paint or stir it to make sure it's mixed good. Use your putty knife to open the lid or the screwdriver. Pour some paint into an empty bucket, or you can paint out of the paint can. You'll want to use your brush to catch the excess paint on the edge. Now, here's for the hard part, painting the crackle. You need to be quick and efficient. You want to get your brush wet with enough paint, but not too much. I am actually going to paint everything around my crackle spots first to ensure good coverage. When you're ready to do your crackle, make sure to go in one direction with your paintbrush, and if possible, achieve this in one application. You absolutely do not want to overwork your paint. It will cause your crackle glaze to roll and bunch up. This is why I say it's a good idea to practice on something first. If you're going to be doing something that has edges and you want to paint them, you should always set your piece on a bucket so that it does not stick to your table when it's drying. When you're done, just step back and watch your crackle change. And this needs to dry for another 1 to 4 hours before touching or moving it. Alright, we are almost done, but I'm actually going to add a few more things to my piece to help antique it. Here I've added some rub through to some of my edges to help soften the look. I also wasn't happy with my top coat color, so I'm going to add some colored glaze to help darken it. But first we need to spray a clear coat on our piece. Let this dry for a good 4 hours before sanding it. Once the clear coat has dried, we're going to lightly sand it just like we did before to take away any shine that it has, and then dust it and clean it when we're done. Next comes the glaze. You can buy glaze at any paint store and it comes in all sorts of colors. We are going to dip our rag into the glaze and begin applying it to our piece. You want to work this moving in the same directions because it can make drag lines from your rags just like a paintbrush. But this is much easier to work with than the crackle. When you put the glaze on, you want to go kind of thick and spread it out, even it out. You only take off what you want off. When you get the desired look, stop. Move to a new section. Make sure that you keep your color consistent as possible. If you have any corners and creases like mine, you might need to use your putty knife to help get the glaze into them. When you are finished and you have achieved your desired look, let it set and dry on a bucket for 2 to 4 hours. After it is dried, you need to remove your masking tape and paper, but remember to do this carefully in case if your paint has dried to your tape, it could peel the paint off of your piece. And once you've removed all of that, you should be done. But I'm actually going to lightly sand the center of my piece to match the rest. Your last step is finding your piece a home. You put it somewhere in your house or give it to someone for a gift. This is my piece before and my piece after. Thank you for watching.